I'm going to piss off so many those tattoo chefs who are like, no, but yeah, they need to hear it, I hope. Sofreh restaurant is located in Brooklyn, New York. We have been in business since 2018. I'm serving traditional Iranian food with a little bit of twist of like I insert myself in some dishes, but essentially my mission is to introduce the way we cook at home and in our parties in a restaurant setting. I like to say Iranian, it's an interchangeable, and in my book I sometimes say Iranian, sometimes I say Persian. Iran is a geographic place, the country that everyone knows. In that geographic location, so many tribes and nations live. And they have their dialect, they have their cuisine, they have their tradition. We are all Iranians, but not we are all Persians. Persians are the Parsi people, and we have Kurdish, Turkish, Baluch, Lor, so many tribes. So I like to consider this restaurant as Iranian restaurant because I am cooking dishes from different parts of Iran, all over Iran. I opened Sofreh with the sole purpose of not seeing our cuisine being represented very well. We have a huge community in LA and all over the world now. What most people think of Persian food is rice and kebab, which is fine. I like my kebab once a year, but every time I have a party, every time I had a dinner, every time I had an event, and people were like, wow, what is this? Like, where is this? But more than people, myself, I've been living in New York City where the world is cooking here. Literally, like in every corner, world is cooking here. And I just couldn't see our food being represented the way I wanted to be represented. So I kept saying from the beginning when we were dining with my husband, my God, this and so is doing this incredible food. Where is our food? So eventually I set out to do this. Brooklyn has its own quirk. I love Brooklyn. It's a little different than Manhattan and other parts of New York. Manhattan is a ton of tourists, people come and go, it's transient, it's a mega city. Brooklyn is local, people young, a lot of artists, a lot of artist community that moved out of Manhattan, priced out of Manhattan, they're currently living in Brooklyn. Many for necessity, but many by choice, like me. I was not gonna have my restaurant anywhere but Brooklyn because of the diversity of the people. It's very young. It's also very old. All the old families who lived in Brooklyn for for many years, they still live there. Their kids are still live here. I have only been in the restaurant business for 5 years. And from the beginning, my menu was more or less the same. I have ton of vegetable options and only 4 mains that are meat-based. And that because you cannot survive in a restaurant business without having a red meat and a fish and another chicken maybe. So that's what I have. But other than that, I basically went by what I like to eat. I personally consume a lot of beans and rice and bread, a lot of starch. We love our starch. And lots of vegetables. And my menu is basically a reflection of what I eat and what I serve my family. It really took me a long time to finalize my concept, but that's also the fact that we got the building, the restaurant, and it took us 6 years to build it. I kind of knew what I knew what I was going to do. I had the menu ready, I had the concept, but it really allowed me to really narrow it down. Plus, I've been cooking since I was 10 years old, so 50 years of cooking gives me some backbone on what is it I want to say, and plus I raised family here, and I fed picky teenagers over the years. I threw massive parties. I cooked for shelters, for big events. And I just watched people. All these years, I just watch what dishes people gravitate. What is it that they look at each other and they nod? And that became my menu. It surprises people. Why? This is what I love. Very few cuisines have so many variations of eggplant. So let's showcase it. Nobody has this concept of ash, so let's give it a whole chapter. I wasn't thinking about inspiration. My mother was a principal in a high school that I wasn't so happy to be in that high school as my mother being the principal. But the fact that every day she had to leave the house with us at 7 a.m. and still we had a beautiful lunch, we came home, that became a source of inspiration. That, yes, you can be working and you should be working. My mother always said, woman, earn your money, put your hands in your pocket, always, always. And my grandmother was the same. But they all never missed a bit about feeding their loved ones. So that was more of an inspiration than watching my mother, what she does. I wanted to be the person who feeds her family and her loved ones. And waking up like 6 in the morning as she was screaming, get ready, like we all have to leave, because at 7 we had to. And I would wake up to a smell of onion and garlic already being cooked for our lunch. That was my source of inspiration. The way I grew up, we consumed meat. Almost a middle-class family has kind of a meat-based something at least 3 times, 4 times a week. But my mother always put few pieces of meat in a big pot of something as a more of a flavoring. We never sat down to have like a big piece of meat. When I came here and I saw a hamburger, or I saw even worse, steak, I was like shocked. Literally shocked. And my father comes from a farming background, so he always told us that he loved his animals, and he really deeply cared for them. And I grew up with love of this animal, and he explained to me that the life cycle of animals, sometimes it has a life cycle, but he taught me how much we need farm animal product to feed our plants. So using that concept of being really consciously using meat, it allows the full ecosystem to evolve around. First of all, you don't consume meat a lot, you just sparingly. You use it as a little bit of flavor here, a little bit of there, and you use it for special events. There's a wedding, you want to have a stuffed whole lamb, yeah. But then the rest of the year, you don't eat lamb, you don't need to consume so much meat. So yes, in our cuisine is a lot of these dishes, and to this day I still eat the same way. And when I cook for family, I just put few pieces. My son is joking that we have to fish for a piece of meat. In my house, they have to fish. Everybody gets a tiny piece of meat, and that's enough. Yeah, in Iran you can find tons of vegetable dishes all over the country. The way we use herbs, that we call here herbs, all the greens, we call it vegetable. The way we use it in such an abundance that for us, cilantro and parsley are equivalent to zucchini or eggplant, and that level of use. And we have dishes that are predominantly only herbs based, or ash that we cook today. And that is not just unique to the central part of Iran, all over Iran. Herbs are in abundance and we just like them. And even when we don't cook them in the dishes, we also always have a massive platter of fresh herbs in our table. No meal is complete without having fresh herbs. Our cuisine is based on layering. We start with onion, and then we move to turmeric or garlic or both, and then we add everything else. And I like to have this to tell the future chefs, keep the integrity of this building up. It may seem a little like time consuming or maybe not efficient, but it pays off once you allow every part of the dish to be developed. Another thing I would like to suggest to future chefs who are attempting to cook Iranian food, before inserting yourself that you think, oh, this is going to be looking really cool if I add this and that, learn the basics, deliver it. And I'd say that to all the people who come here for a stage or trail. Learn the traditional way. Do it well. Make a good ash. You want to take it to another land and make ceviche out of it, I'm just joking. Do it later. But learn the foundation, learn the basic. Develop mastery for it. Then you have almost calls for inserting yourself. So this is one, not necessarily with our cooking, this is one trend I see with the youth people, with all the internet, and they can cook from all over the world. They throw every ingredient from every part of the world in one dish. Some of it is like to almost show off their knowledge of this and that. But to me, just if you are doing this as a chef, think, what is it I'm doing? What am I adding? Or am I actually distracting from the basic concept by prematurely throwing some stuff that doesn't belong? Other than that, recipes are there for this reason. Learn the recipes, practice them, master them, see what you like, what you don't like, and then start adding yourself to it. But just do that part first. By nature and minimalist, I put everything in and then I start removing. I do the same with my food. My food is already, I feel Iranian food has so much in it that we should not clutter more by having a busy setup, a busy placemats, a busy tablecloths. Just get rid of that. The food can speak for itself. My relationship to the food, since I opened a restaurant, I find myself eating simpler and cleaner, simply because I'm around rich food all the time. Basically, I find myself gravitating towards simpler food. Before restaurant, I would go to these really amazing restaurants with 50 ingredients in my plate. That doesn't excite me anymore. I want clarity, cleanness, and conscientious approach to the food. Like, if I see 5 types of protein, different protein, whether like from quinoa to grains to fish, in one plate, I look at it and I'm like, that chef didn't really think thorough. We need one protein, little bit of a starch, ton of vegetables. And I have become a little bit maybe more critical since I opened the restaurant, but also more discerning. I think in a time of crisis, we need to be selective, we need to be choosy, and we need to use less of resources while providing a fantastic experience for our guests.